Wolfenstein: The New Order is one of the strangest games we've ever played. We say that for all sorts of reasons, and all of them are positive. One of the oddest things about it is that it took such an old and directionless franchise as Wolfenstein and turned it into something so modern and vital, while at the same time still honoring its retro origins. But it's the game's bizarre tone, which can instantly flit between heartfelt drama, inappropriate comedy, and violent action, which is its most distinctive feature. Buoyed by the first game's success, developer Machine Games has become even bolder in this sequel, creating a style of storytelling as distinctive as any Hollywood auteur. Despite the alternative history setting, The New Order portrayed the horrors of Nazism from a relatively traditional historical perspective. But the rise of the alt-right, in the years since the original game's release, has now provided a much more topical target. One that is skewered with all the precision of the game's many and bloody weapons. Although it is the middle part of an intended trilogy, Wolfenstein II requires no knowledge of the first game to enjoy. There's a little recap at the beginning anyway, showing how the Nazis won the Second World War by using stolen technology from a Jewish secret society. The main goal of the game is to start a revolution in occupied America, which is a problem for all sorts of reasons, not least the fact that many have welcomed fascist rule as the Ku Klux Klan roam the streets and slavery is made legal again. A lot of the dialogue is very on the nose, with phrases and arguments lifted straight from the worst corners of Reddit and which feel worryingly authentic coming from the lips of actual Nazis. But fighting fascism is not achieved through subtlety, and the game is absolutely fearless in its portrayal of racism, anti-Semitism, sexism, and every other kind of bigotry. You can feel a righteous anger from the developer that these things even need to be argued against, but that's only one part of the narrative. The counterpoint to the indoctrinated cruelty of the Nazis is the deeply flawed, but very human, nature of the resistance. They range from a LSD-addicted leader to a conspiracy-obsessed ex-lawyer, while protagonist William B.J. Blazkowicz is himself equally troubled, physically and psychologically crippled by the events of the first game and the imminent birth of his twin children. This is a first-person shooter, and so far all we've done is talk about this story as if this was some Telltale-style adventure. But it's better than that. It's a full-blooded action game that has something to say and a highly entertaining way of saying it. And if the subject matter sounds grim and depressing, that's only because we've so far neglected to mention all the poop jokes, general absurdist comedy, and unembarrassed displays of sexuality. Wolfenstein II earns its 18 rating like no other, with uniquely honest portrayals of sex, violence, drugs use, and all the other vices of mankind. The characters aren't realistic in a literal sense, they're too absurd and exaggerated for that, but their virtues and failings come across as very authentic. But what makes the game all the more impressive is that the gameplay and action is just as accomplished as the storytelling. It's not merely adequate, it's a genuinely great first-person shooter in its own right. Although Machine Games have denied it as a conscious influence, we've always compared the games to GoldenEye 007, as most levels are open-ended and filled with secrets and extra objectives. There's also a strong emphasis on stealth, although in most cases it's entirely optional. The gunplay itself is second only to Destiny, and each of the overpowered weapons is hugely entertaining to use, with a great sense of weight and power given to every shot. Especially now that you can dual-wield any combination of guns you want. Each weapon can be upgraded with various useful extras, but unusually you're also free to take back the upgrade points and use them in a different configuration. We've played a lot of first-person shooters in our time, but we've never had so much fun with the laser as in this game. Its thick beam of light melting Nazi war machines in the most satisfying way imaginable. But all of the weapons are great, and so too are the strange special abilities you're eventually given access to. These include being able to smash through walls and using a pair of stilts to gain higher ground, which in keeping with the tone of the storytelling sounds ridiculous on paper, but works extremely well in practice. The game's not perfect, though, and the more focused narrative and deeper characterization creates an even more difficult juggling act than in the original, and it's not one the sequel always maintains. Blazkowicz's sudden obsession with the character from the first game seems to come out of nowhere, and although the game happily employs cliched motivations and character traits to make a point, it can come across as so hokey it undermines the drama.